Okay, we can bring you more on the opposition leader Tony Abbott's comments in London overnight, where he's given his support to the Queensland LNP candidate Mal Brough. Now, he's dismissed calls for Mr Brough to be disendorsed in that seat of Fisher. The opposition leader has spoken to our Europe correspondent Mary Guerin.
No, I think that Mal Brough was perfectly properly endorsed by the Liberal National Party. He's been quite transparent and upfront about his involvement, and as I said, the matter is now subject to appeal.
You've said that you didn't think that the government should be in the business of calling James Ashby someone who was going to use the political process to bring down Mr Slipper. Are you embarrassed by those comments and by your support of him? The
only matters here are first, did or did not Mr Slipper sexually harass his former staffer, and I understand that this matter remains before the courts. The second is, why did the Prime Minister think that Peter Slipper was a fit and proper person to be Speaker? Now, they're the only two issues, and I think they're the issues that we should be dealing with.
As a result of Wednesday's judgment, though, we've got people saying that there should be an inquiry into this matter and the Coalition's involvement. What would your response be to that and your general reaction to Wednesday's finding?
Look, the Labor Party, I think, should accept that there are no conspiracies here. There are no conspiracies whatsoever. I think the Labor Party should stop hyperventilating. As I said, if the Labor Party thinks there's been some terrible injustice done to Mr Slipper, they should put him back into the Speaker's chair.
Does the opposition have anything to hide if an inquiry is set up?
Look, I think any such inquiry would plainly be a bit of a witch hunt. As I said, the only issues at stake are did Mr Slipper sexually harass his former staffer, and why did the Prime Minister think he was a fit and proper person to be the Speaker in the first place? What role did you have in the case against Mr Slipper? None whatsoever.
Can we ask you about your knowledge of the case being filed?
I've fully dealt with this. I had no specific knowledge of any of the details of the allegations against Mr Slipper until I read about them on the Saturday morning when they were in the paper. There, of course, have been stories about the PDF discrepancies, that perhaps that statement of the Liberal Party said that it was created 11 p.m. the night before, that you said that it was created. How do you explain the discrepancy, and doesn't that contradict what you've said about your knowledge? No, it doesn't, and my office has released a statement fully dealing with that matter. You said at the time you had no specific knowledge. Can you describe exactly what that means? What knowledge did you have? Look, there are all sorts of rumours that had been running around about Mr Slipper for years, and those rumours intensified in the weeks leading up to the court case or the lodgement of a claim against him. But as I said then, and as I repeat again today, I had no specific knowledge of the details of the claims against Mr Slipper until I read about them in the paper. Are you confident that no members of the Federal Coalition had any involvement in James Ashby's case at any stage? Look, I have no knowledge of any involvement by any members of the Federal Coalition in Canberra. What moral authority do you have on the Craig Thomson and AWU affairs when you're endorsing a Liberal candidate who's found to have been engaging in an abuse of the legal process for political gain? Can I say that it is typical of a government that has no answers whatsoever to the problems that Australia is facing, that all it can do is hyperventilate about this issue. Now, if we're talking about the Peter Slipper issue, only two things count. First of all, why did this Prime Minister pick this person to be Speaker? Why did this Prime Minister think that Mr Slipper was a fit and proper person to be the Speaker of the Parliament? That's the first issue. And the second issue is, did or did not Mr Slipper sexually harass a former member of his staff? And that, as I understand it, is still before the courts. Now, as for the Thomson matter, again, it goes to the judgment of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister was running a protection racket for Craig Thomson for months after it was obvious that there were serious matters that he had to answer for. Similarly for Mr Slipper, the last offender that Peter Slipper had was in fact this Prime Minister.
So to you don't think it means anything that a judge has thrown out this case against Peter Slipper?
As I said, the matter, I believe, is under appeal.
You mentioned there that the Labor Party can reinstate him as Speaker if they have any issue with this whole process. But I mean, how would you feel Parliament being overseen by this man after this case?
Well, I invite the Labor Party, if they feel so strongly about this matter, and if they think that Mr Slipper has been the victim of some kind of injustice or some kind of a conspiracy, well, they should reinstate him.